Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us here on the Noon News. I'm Samantha Sullivan. We are now in day 18 of the partial government shutdown, with Democrats and the president in a standoff over funding to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Nicole Killian has more details from the White House this afternoon.
President Trump will address the nation tonight to say why he believes the U.S. needs a wall along the southern border.
The president will take his case directly to the American people about the crisis on our southern border.
The president has been making the argument the wall is needed for national security. Democrats say that's not true.
The fact of the matter is that the number of apprehensions, the number of migrants crossing the border is way down over the last few years. There's not an emergency of that nature.
Democrats will deliver a rebuttal tonight and say if the president's past statements are any indication, his remarks will be full of malice and misinformation. President Trump has said if Congress won't act, he'll consider declaring a national emergency, which could allow him to use military funds to build the wall.
We would challenge it in every single way that we could, in Congress, in the courts, and otherwise.
The standoff over spending $5.7 billion to build the wall has pushed the partial government shutdown into day 18, with both sides blaming each other.
The Democrats refuse to negotiate until the president reopens the government.
And President Trump says he won't bend on the issue either. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
And on Monday in Helena, U.S. Senator Steve Daines told MTN he won't predict an end to the shutdown, but says it needs to end as soon as possible. This weekend, he wrote a letter to the acting Secretary of the Interior, David Bernhardt, to secure funds for National Park Services during the shutdown. He says Bernhardt told him Sunday millions of dollars alone will now go towards national parks in Montana for critical services like trash removal and plowing. The senator says both sides must be willing to compromise to open the federal government back up, but says increasing border security isn't an unreasonable request.
Speaker Pelosi says it's zero. President Trump says $5 billion. They can meet somewhere in between there and get this sorted out. I was in business for 28 years. We've got to figure out a way to go forward here. We can open the government up, which we need to do, and fund the border security.
Of course, we'll have more on the president's remarks later this evening. Well, at least one person is dead after a crash in Great Falls this morning. Police responded to the incident near North Middle School early this morning. While details at this time are limited, an update from the Great Falls Police Facebook page says there was at least one fatality. Police say the area from 8th Street Northeast from Smelter Avenue to 25th Avenue North along the east entrance to Walmart are closed during their investigation. The public is asked to avoid that area if possible. We'll update you more as more information becomes available. And a two-vehicle crash south of Helena closed Interstate 15 for hours on Monday. Both north and southbound lanes of Interstate 15 reopened just before 4:30 yesterday afternoon. The initial crash happened around 8:30 in the morning. MHP says a car was traveling north when the driver hit a semi hauling 2 tankers of diesel fuel. The crash caused the semi to cross the median. Its secondary trailer rolled onto its side and blocked traffic. The car then caught fire. The trailer then began to leak fuel. The interstate was closed due to blockage and the proximity of that fuel to the fire. No one was seriously injured. The Bozeman Police Department has identified Sergeant Ben Green as the officer involved in last week's shooting that left one man dead. Now Bozeman police officers are being offered counseling services per department protocol. Officers have the opportunity to take part in counseling all year long, and whenever there is a traumatic event they go through that's called crisis stress management. The program shows officers the physical and mental signs they should watch out for and teaches them different ways to cope.
There's help, and it's not anything that anybody needs to be ashamed of. I think the old days of you kind of suck it up and truck on are over with, and we understand the importance of keeping care of your mental health.
Sergeant Green is on paid administrative leave while the incident remains under investigation. Families of the officers and people who witnessed the shooting also receive counseling services. Well, class is back in session today for Circle Public Schools. This comes after a closure on Monday due to an ongoing threat. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office posted on Facebook last night that through coordination with other agencies, they developed and implemented a plan that eliminates all immediate threats and takes steps to ensure that no future threats will arise from this situation. Although previous posts by Circle Public Schools don't mention any details, it appears the schools have been dealing with a threat since December 20th. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office also stated in last night's post, quote, "To protect the privacy of all individuals involved, no specific details on the situation can or will be divulged." A Montana case will appear on the United States Supreme Court docket today, one that could set a precedent for tribal hunting rights and the application of Indian treaties. The case is Clavin Herrera versus Wyoming, and it involves a member of the Crow tribe who took an elk in Wyoming and was later convicted of illegal hunting. Several years ago, Herrera pursued an elk across the reservation line into the state of Wyoming. Game warden said Herrera violated state gaming laws. However, Herrera believes the Laramie Treaty of 1868 is on his side, where tribal members have the right to hunt on unoccupied land. In response, Wyoming said those treaty rights ended when Wyoming became a state. The Supreme Court may not reach a decision until late spring or early summer. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Noon News. Coming up, we take a look at the first day of the Montana State Legislature and where things go from here. But first, Ed's in with a look at the statewide forecast. We'll be right back.
Watching MTN News with Samantha Sullivan, Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and Farm and Ranch News from the Northern Ag Network. This is the Noon News on Q2, Montana's news leader.